Welcome back to the next edition of GST. Over here in today's examples, in today's class, we would be seeing the examples of how GST is going to be affecting our journal entries. So let's begin. In today's class, as I already told you, you would be seeing the examples related to GST. But for those who have not seen my earlier video, do see the description box where you would find a link related to the earlier video, which talks about what exactly is GST, how is it being levied on different taxes, on different goods and services. Like I already told you in my last video, GST is something which is being charged by the government depending on the goods and services that are being catered to. Now, the rates and types of GST are always prescribed by the government. An individual cannot decide it, and the rates are subject to change. Electricity, petrol, diesel are not under the purview of GST. Let's take an example. Today's class, we would be taking two examples. One, when we are purchasing a goods or we would take a service, then the tax which is being levied, that is the GST that is being paid when we are a customer, how would the entries get affected? And the next example is where we are a seller. And when we are charging the GST, how exactly would be the entries in our books of account? Let's take the example which has been given to you over here. Purchase laptop from Jalaram and Company worth 50,000 at 18% GST and the amount paid by check. Now here I would like to clarify to all of you that the GST rate is given in your problem. It is not to be learnt by you. You don't have to remember what are the GST rates for different types of goods and services. It would be given to you in the problem. So you just have to calculate the percentage given to you in the problem depending on the amount for that particular transaction. Like here, it's already been given that 18% is being charged for the laptop, which is of the basic cost value of 50,000. So we have purchased a laptop from a company and the basic price of it is 50,000. Now, how are we going to calculate that? So there are two GSTs which are there. One, the CGST, another is the SGST. Both would be 9% each. So the 18%, a part of it goes to the central government, a part of it goes to the state government. So both these GSTs total are put as 18,000. So it's split into exactly half. So upon 50,000, the calculation done is 9% for CGST and 9% for SGST. Now, the trick behind calculating, for those who do not know how, the 9%, it's an odd figure which is being calculated. If you remember, I did tell you in one of my videos that when it's 10% calculation, just remove the last digit of the given figure. So here it's 1%. So when it comes to 1%, just remove the last two digits of the given figure. So if you see here for 50,000, 1% would be 500. So we have removed the two zeros which are at the end of the figure. 500 is 1%. Obviously 9% would be 500 multiplied by 9, and that comes to 4,500. So that's how we calculate the GST over here. So 4,500 for CGST and 4,500 for SGST. Total comes to 59,000. Now this calculation of 59,000 is the amount that we need to pay when our laptop is being purchased. Now over here, since we have paid by check, the bank account would be credited. And what have we received in return? So we have in return we've received the laptop, which is a real type of account. So real accounts rule as per the rule. Real account says debit what comes in, and laptop has come into our organization, so it's being debited, and the amount is being paid by the bank. So the bank is the giver and it's being credited. Now what about this GST? Is it an income for us? Definitely no, it's our expense. In that case, when it is our expense and we know that it is on nominal account, it is obviously going to be debited. So the basic price of the laptop is 50,000, which is going to be debited. The input CGST is going to be 4,500. Input SGST is again 4,500. This sums up to be 59,000. Now, please remember that when we are a customer, when we are buying something and the GST is being charged to us, we would always put input as the word before the word CGST and SGST. So CGST and SGST is being preceded by the word input. In the next example, we would see what happens in case we are the seller. Coming to the next example where we have a motor car which is being sold by us. This time we are a seller and not a consumer. So the sale price of our motor car is 1 lakh and the GST charged is 28%. So I read this transaction for you. Sold motor car for 1 lakh at 28% GST and the amount received by check. Here it's again a cash transaction where we are receiving the amount of money and it's not a credit transaction. So the name of the person who is a customer is not required, and we have received the amount directly by check, which would be deposited into our bank. So the bank is the receiver. Now again, like we saw in the last example, when the GST is being calculated, it's split into two parts, one the C and the next the SGST. So 28% when it's divided into two parts, that is 14%. The calculation is being done the same way like I told you in my last example. First calculate 1%. 1% of 1 lakh comes to 1,000. Multiply it by 14, so it comes to 14,000. 14,000 is the CGST and 14,000 is the SGST. So the total price that we would be receiving is 1,28,000. So obviously the bank account would be debited by 1,28,000, which is the debit amount, and in the credit we would have the split up of this 1,28,000. So the motor car we received from the motor car which was being sold 1 lakh. Why the motor car is being credited? Because it's going out of the organization being a real account, and the SGST and CGST both being 14,000 each would be credited, which is not our expense. So it is being received by us. It is in a way our income. So although we would not be taking it, we would have to transfer it further to the government. But for present calculation, we calculate it as our income, and that SGST and CGST both are being credited, which comes to 14,000 split up for 28,000 of GST. Once you have written all these entries, remember you need to put in the narration whatever is the transaction, like being sold motor car and amount received by check at 28% GST. Same applies in the earlier example. So remember The basic rules of journal entries do not change. But over here, the GST, CGST and SGST is being preceded by the word output. When we are a consumer, CGST, SGST being our expense, or it is our loss which is being borne by us, so it's being debited, and the word input is being put before these two GST amounts, GST words. When we are a seller, it would be preceded by the word output. So do remember, the word input and output has to be added whenever you are accounting GST. Both the GSTs cannot be just written as it is as CGST and SGST. I hope this makes your point clear as far as the accounting of CGST and SGST is concerned. Every problem, the GST amount would be given to you depending on the type of goods which are being sold or purchased, and accordingly the calculation needs to be done. Do remember that the basic problem, the basic journal entry remains still the same. In case you are a buyer, the GST would be debited. In case you are a seller, the GST would be credited. Rest remains the same. So I hope these two examples have made the concept of GST clear to you. In case you have any doubts, need any clarification, do write in the comment section. I would definitely get back to you. Thank you. As we come to the end of today's session, I hope that all of you have understood the concept of GST from the point of view of accounting. In case you still need certain clarification, some more examples, you could always write in the comment box. I would be accordingly making some more videos with some more examples. Till then, goodbye, take care, see you soon in my next video. Do remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon.